Hey y'all, come on in. Let's see what's happening in today's vlog. Believe it or not, Salt Lake City, Utah Pride Fest is the third largest in the United States. Last year, they had over 10,000 people.
Hi guys, interwebz here. We are still in Utah. We are at Utah's Pride Fest. So join us, won't you?
This is the original City Hall building. Pride Fest was around this building. So I may have to overlay music because this is a music type festival, but this is where we are today. And this is Stonewall Pride, Utah. Over there. Yeah. Do it? What? Excuse me.
Right, David, is that a mastic or right? It's a working dog. Yeah, so cute.
Beautiful pup. Working dog. But see, she asked, could she pet him?
Shout out to all the Black and brown, queer and trans activists, artists, poets, painters, soul creators in Salt Lake City. You're what keeps me here. It is okay if you're still learning.
The guy.
Like rocks and all.
Where are they getting flags?
I was waiting.
Oh, I love this bag. It's one of those nylon bags.
Oh, okay.
Where did y'all get the little flags?
All over the place.
Oh. So we have
Queer friends, a social group of queer people Pride network. Different shirts like Superman, Batman, WF. They're all black.
Is that a heart in the pride flag?
Mickey Mouse.
Really? That's adorable. There are people coming. I said, wait, there are people coming.
Pride flags, $10.
Let's go see.
Pictures.
Right? But the other park was like this. Sammy says, I need a pride flag. He needs a pride pin. Is this the line? Sammy was gifted a rainbow bow tie. Because I have an active YouTube channel, I was offered a press pass.
Those are potatoes.
There's a tree right here. Please be respectful in the comments. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Carl Moore. I'm the chairperson of PANDOS, Peaceful Advocates for Native Dialogue and Organizing Support, and also the SLCR Protectors, both organizations that are indigenous-led, but all-inclusive in our board, and y'all are welcome to participate in anything that we do. We're organizations that care about the environment, care about people, and care about being responsible to each other and to the land. I want to acknowledge where we're at right now. I want to acknowledge that we reside, probably living here on stolen land, that we live on Ute land, Shoshone land, Ghost Ute land right here. Unfortunately, another group of people decided they'd come and kind of push us to the side, and then so they're living in different areas and some still living here. But I want to acknowledge that first and foremost. I also want to acknowledge that we're all related. I want to acknowledge, in our colors and our flags, we have the 4 different color groups that represent the 4 different directions, that represent the 4 different people groups. And we always recognize that we're all related. It's something that we have kind of lost sight of as people have divided into countries. Nationalism is a kind of an ugly thing that we live in. It's important that we start realizing that we're all connected. We're all human beings. We need to start protecting each other, standing up for each other, equal value for everybody, and that's what we are about. So in that, I'm happy to be here, and I'm thankful for the community that's here and supporting this. I'd say, continue supporting the Pride Center and just support human rights. I want to turn the time. I felt it was important. Where's Mariela? It's important that my relative here, Mariela, come and say the prayer. And so I want to turn the time over to you, Mariela.
We are here, we, the Stonewall 15, to give a militant prayer to the movement, because we recognize that our ancestors, when they were threatened, when colonial ships arrived on our shores, when they were threatened, they prayed with arrows. When they were threatened, they prayed with knives. When they were threatened, they prayed with their fists. Just as Marsha and Sylvia prayed with bricks. Just as Marsha and Sylvia prayed with their fists. And for us, it is a disgrace to not remember that Sylvia Rivera spent a long part of her life on the streets, living on the same pier where Marsha P. Johnson was murdered. The same trans women that fought for our rights now look above us from heaven, and what do they see? What do they see? A sea of capitalistic, rainbow capitalism, ideology, $70 passes. People that can't even afford to call themselves queer, because that's what it feels like. It feels like money signs in order for us to represent ourselves. This militant prayer is dedicated to our movement, to our brothers and sisters and comrades and siblings and every single person that has ever been assassinated for fighting for their rights to represent their own identity.
Hello everyone, my name is Uncle Nahuel. I'm going to be addressing each and every one of you today, individually and collectively. Brothers, sisters, and comrades, we come to you from every corner of the planet today. We have an urgent message we must deliver. As many of you know, the world is entering a period of crisis. International diplomatic relationships are strained, and we are currently going through the 6th mass extinction of the planet. Climate change is quickly becoming the great equalizer of life. Also, fascism and white supremacy is taking root here at home and globally. This is a message to alert you of the necessity to dream of a world outside of capitalism, and to alert you of the crimes of the corporations that claim to represent us. The Pride Center and the Pride Festival has accepted money, donations, and clout from the same companies who have caused the climate and financial crises. Walmart, Goldman Sachs, Chase Bank, Dominion Energy, and the most heinous of all, L3. L3 is a weapons company that is guilty of over 250 war crimes against 250 Iraqi civilians, including the rape of a 14-year-old boy, tortures, and executions. We must look at ourselves currently in 2019 and ask, how do these corporations represent us? And I'm going to tell you, they don't. Many of the arguments today that will be made today will be, how will we fund Pride? And I'm going to stop you there. Pride was a riot. Pride was a demonstration to prove that we didn't need the state oppression or capitalist shackles. Pride was to honor our gay, lesbian, and bi transgender ancestors who died for a better world. Specifically, the banks crashed the economy not 10 years ago. And many of us have never recovered from that, specifically our trans brothers and sisters. Instead, they face increased police brutality and state repression. These corporations supported governments that were almost like the old slave masters in the oppression of the people, because their loyalty was not to the people, it was to the people who kept them in power. They became the bastard children of American industry, kleptocracy, governments of thievery. The puppet rulers were given billions of tax dollars to fund civil wars, right-wing death squads, execute political dissidents, sympathetic clergy, and even overthrow democratically elected governments. The LGBTQ community is a powerful force. We are not outnumbered, we are out-organized.
That's right.
Our histories have been hidden from us. Many of us come from countries that will cut off your hand if you make a fist. But not here. Not here in the belly of the beast. We must demonstrate our pain, we must demonstrate our anger, and we must take care of each other as a community. We have been divided as individuals. We cannot keep competing over wealth with one another. We are pawns to the capitalist state and the corporations. Everything these companies do, slapping rainbows on everything, is a PR campaign to get our money. At the same time, they are destroying our people-led organizations and destroying the planet. We must dream of a world where we're not destroying our bodies from overwork. We must dream of a world without capitalism. Their lust for greed and power has no end, and they'll stop at nothing to get it. Defend yourselves, brothers and sisters. Let us not hide anymore. Let us show our love. Let us show that we belong and we exist. We have always been in the trenches battling for existence, and now we're here. We are seen. Now the next step is liberation. Comrades Sylvia Rivera and Marsha P. Johnson have been reincarnated in revolutionary spirit on the 50th anniversary of the Stonewall Riot. Please read. Study our history. Don't let them tell you what it is. It is not rainbow capitalism. It has always been clear liberation. And do not forget the thousands and thousands and thousands that have died for us to be here. Let us move into the age of liberation and construct our future how we see it. Thank you.
Please be advised, foul language warning.
What's up, y'all? My name is Brooks. First, I just want to give a shout out to all the queers that are on the streets right now, to all the queers that didn't have the money to make it into this goddamn festival in the first place, to all the queers that couldn't go into the coffee shops with the rainbow flags because they couldn't fucking afford to buy anything, to all the queers that had to work today and therefore couldn't come to Pride in the first place because of their class. As most queer people in the world are working class, the contemporary and mainstream LGBTQI+ movement, as it is now, does not represent our interests. The majority of the dominant gay rights movements, such as the movement for gay marriage, have been non-representative of the most particularly oppressed people in our society. That is the poor, the working class, the lumpen, people of color, immigrants, indigenous peoples, etc. Their names have been removed from history books, they've been placed on the sideline and used as tokens. So, one important conclusion to be drawn from this movement that only left us asking, what's next? Is that what we can conclude is that without a broader economic strategy for the liberation of queer people, our success in striving toward an equitable society for all becomes limited to what the ruling class decides to provide us. It becomes limited to what Wells Fargo and Chase, Goldman Sachs, the same companies that led all of us into poverty in '08, decide to provide us. It's what weapons manufacturers that kill children overseas decide for us. It's the same people that make your living life every single day an economic hell that will decide what you get in terms of queer rights. So, that is to say that we have seen this ruling class and establishment politics show itself in the intentional sabotage, for example, of Bernie Sanders' political campaign premised on the most basic demands for social welfare that were also made by the queer liberation movement as well. This includes access to healthcare, access to education, and basic economic survival. Now, the second thing is that the ruling class, the elite, these very companies that are supporting Pride and profiting off of all of us here in the first instance, they benefit from the divisions amongst us. They benefit from the divisions between the people who make labor, whose labor makes society run. When we are divided, we are limited, and thus we are continually oppressed. That is to say that Pride will always have an interest in our oppression as it stands now. This plays itself out, for example, in the transphobic and homophobic hatred that has become a core tenet of Trump's reactionary populism. The second reason that capitalism will always be bad for queer people is specifically because it always needs the reproduction of a labor pool. And that has always historically been met by anti-sodomy laws. It has always been met by misogynistic laws, such as legalizing the rape of women. It has always been met by violence against our bodies. The conclusion that we can draw from this is that we cannot have an understanding of our identity without class, and vice versa, when in reality, despite what Pride and academic theorists might claim, class is the means by which our oppression unfolds for us. It is the way you have to relate to your job. It is the way you have to talk to your boss. It is the way of you being afraid of losing your housing because your landlord might find out you're gay. This is the way in which we are oppressed. It is not simply another identity. But yet they want you to think so, and Pride celebrates this type of logic. When in reality, we need to understand that one thing that they are peddling to is this thing known as homo-nationalism. Resisting imperialism is essential to global queer liberation. It is essential to the majority of queer liberation in the entirety of the world. Much of the ruling class's focus in the United States is encouraging queer people to support the imperialism of the United States, such as the war in Iraq. They want us to support the economic and militaristic ruin of queer people across the world in the name of nationalism. For example, the United States' support for the global anti-LGBT juggernaut that is Saudi Arabia. They want us to believe that the U.S. global power is a hallmark of sexual tolerance and diversity, when in reality the United States is one of the leading global forces in transphobia and homophobia in the first instance. The ruling class wants to convince us that the United States invasion and sabotage of sovereign nations is beneficial to us. Since the legalization of gay marriage, a project of homo-nationalism has been peddled, encouraging our communities to support the death of queer people abroad, to support the death of the same type of people that fought the cops in Stonewall Riots. What we have to realize is that an injury to one is an injury to all. Our organizing must reflect that every struggle is linked in a material way. We must understand that queer oppression does not have borders. We must refuse to compromise with our oppressors, as Pride today has become. They must be organized, our revolutions and our movements at the ground level, and they must resist commodification that Pride promises. If anyone will save us, it is going to be ourselves. The task at hand now is for us to be able to identify our enemy clearly, because of that, as of right now, we all just paid them an entry fee.
The costumes and outfits were outstanding. The beauty of the buildings and the architecture is amazing. This is the same photo, just cropped differently. Day 1's Pride Hall. These buttons are for Sammy's bag. The Pride Parade will be its own video.
Hi guys, Emerald Gypsy Heart. This is day 2 of Pride Fest called Stonewall and Salt Lake City, Utah. So come along.
After the parade, Sammy was on high alert. We were waiting for lunch.
Oh my goodness, there's so many people. I have him tucked up underneath where nobody can step on him. But he's on alert. Every time somebody walks too close to me, he growls at them. So he's been a good dog. At the parade, he climbed out of his bag and into my arms, which is something he has never done. Yeah. Say hi. Hi. We having a good time? Yes. All right. Too bad Wilson crowds Wilson, but that's okay. He came to the parade. That was the cool part.
He came, he saw, he left.
Pretty much. Yeah, since Wilson doesn't like crowds, and it's really crowded here today, it's at least triple what they were yesterday. We're just sitting waiting for food right now. The lines are astronomically long, so, but yeah, we're having a good time. We're having a good time. So, whew. And it's warm today, which is not a problem. This is Sammy on alert. You watching, people? Yeah, you're a good boy, huh? You're a good boy. Yeah, him's a good boy. So Sammy's on alert, which means that he's watching all around us to make sure that nobody gets us. So that's a good boy today. And he's styling his little bow tie he got yesterday. And we're waiting for lunch.
Laura said happy Pride.
All right, hooray. All right, so we'll see you in the next clip. Bye.
Sammy climbed up onto my shoulder so that he had a better vantage point. This is my friend Angel. She and I have been friends since 2002, and she is an ally. Angel also suffers from high anxiety, so Sammy got out of my lap and into hers to help comfort her. Sammy said, "Ooh, what you got? Anything good?" This lady's dress is made entirely of balloons.
Since you don't like hair.
Don't mind us.
Woo, the wind almost took my camera. Check out the umbrella. Somebody's gonna fly away. Oh. It's like great revival. That's what I'm listening for.
Don't fucking get so mad.
So they're giving free water, and she's hand cranking to fill one of the igloo coolers. And they have these big, huge water drums.
This is the last one.
That's the last one?
Yep, all those are empty.
Wow, a lot of water.
Yep, a lot of water.
This is one of the outstanding costumes of the day. A horny horse, of course. This is Angel with 2 Pokemon characters. And this is me with the Pokemon characters. These guys are awesome. They ride around and they take you places that you need to go, especially during events. So, for the little bit of that he took us, he charged us $15, which was cheaper than an Uber.
All right, guys, that's it for Pride, Salt Lake City, Utah. So be good, stay out of trouble, and don't do anything we wouldn't do. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bowie went to the parade, but not to the festival. So here's him and Sam playing when we walked in the door. Bowie doesn't give kisses. He gives nibbles on your nose. That's what he's doing, Angel. These two are best buds. I don't know what Bowie's going to do when Sam leaves. Aren't they adorable? Sammy and Chris had a roof day. As always, thanks for watching. That's right, y'all know what time it is. Subscribe if you haven't, ring that bell so you know, and we'll see you in our next video. Bye, guys.